Former special needs teacher, current North Carolina State Representative, and candidate for North Carolina's 9th Congressional District, Charles Graham, took Twitter by storm last week when he launched his campaign ad.
When I was a young boy, the KKK announced a night rally in my home county. A cross burning with hundreds of Klansmen to terrorize the blacks and Lumbee. We were a poor farming community, black, white, and Indian. My parents and grandparents were sharecroppers like many. The police chief warned the Grand Dragon, "These people don't want your trouble." The Klansmen called us mongrels, half-breeds, and told him the Klan would show him how to handle people like us. That night they rode in with their cars, their crosses, and a single light bulb hooked to a car battery. 50 Klansmen. Not a bad turnout on a cold night. Problem is, they were surrounded by 400 Lumbees. Simeon Oxendine had been a tail gunner in a B-29 during the war. Verdia Locklear was 4 months pregnant. Neil Lowry was the local barber. Hundreds of normal folks deciding to stand together against ignorance and hate. Lowry shot out the light. The Klansmen scattered. By the time the sheriff arrived to fish them out of the swamp, the press was running with the story. The Battle of Hayes Pond, where one town beat the Klan. A piece of forgotten history, worth remembering, especially today.
So, State Representative, how old were you when that happened? What do you remember from that battle?
Well, what I remember from that battle, let me thank you for having me on the show this morning. What I remember from that battle was the talk of the community. I was a young boy. My father, the elders in the community leaders, just a lot of discussion, a lot of talk about how proud they were to beat back hatred on that particular day. Of course, we were involved with listening on radio, and that was our means of media. So people were very proud and standing up and speaking out on that issue against hate. And that's my memories of the Hayes Pond incident.
You're looking to unseat GOP incumbent Dan Bishop, and you're running. You're going to run against him. Tell us about your campaign and why you decided to get into the race.
Thank you for that question. Let me say, first of all, I'm a proud son of sharecroppers, and my grandparents were sharecroppers. I'm the only American Indian in the legislature in North Carolina. Probably the only American Indian serving in the General Assembly east of the Mississippi. I'm in this race because of the values that Hayes Pond teaches us. Being united, working for the right things, uniting people, not dividing, standing up for democracy. In 1958, our community came together, and that's what my campaign's about, coming together as a campaign standing up for working families, our children, business owners, the environment, all those things that are important to our communities. In 1958, we see a contrast moving into 2021 when we had the insurrection. We had individuals who came to our nation's capital to divide and conquer, spreading hate, putting down our democracy. My campaign is going to be about the Hayes Pond model, standing together, being unified, supporting our communities.
North Carolina is going to go through redistricting before this election is held. Do you have a sense of what the district is going to look like that you would be representing if you won?
Well, I don't have a sense of what the district will look like. I'm preparing to run in the 9th Congressional District. Of course, that is the eastern part, southeastern part, rural counties here in North Carolina. It could change, but my campaign is going to be focused on, at this point, running against an incumbent, Dan Bishop, who lives in a urban area in Mecklenburg County. He has all the amenities of life. My focus is going to be helping those working families. And as we think about where we're at now in terms of the Build Back Biden's plan, Build Back Better, human infrastructure, we have a lot of needs in our rural counties. One in particular is broadband. health care, elders, child care, all those things that's important to rural North Carolina is what I will be fighting for. And we'll just see how those lines work out and see how that plays out. But one thing I can assure the public of is I'm going to be a candidate that's going to be a uniter and not a divider.
Your opponent, Dan Bishop, is I think best known nationally for being the sponsor of the bathroom bill, saying that the transgender bathroom bill, that people had to use the bathroom of their biological sex. He's also recently talked about getting rid of critical race theory in schools, or providing opportunities for children to go to schools that don't have critical race theory or don't have masks. What do you make of these issues?
Well, let me just be right up front with you and very frank. You mentioned Dan Bishop. Dan Bishop, in my opinion, is he does not represent the goodwill that we need in a congressional member. Those are divisive issues. He's a divider. He's a partisan, and he's going to continue to work that way. Me, as a state legislator, I've been in the legislature now, this is my 6 terms, and I have worked diligently across party lines. I've reached across the aisle to do things that I think is in the best interest of my district. One of the things I want to bring you back to, you mentioned that I'm a educator, a special educator. I am sitting here today having this conversation, and your question brings back something in my mind. When the stood up before our nation and mocked people who were verbally handicapped, physically handicapped, that was something that was demeaning and should have not been accepted by our public. As an educator, someone who's fought for disability rights, I'm still offended by his statement. And folks like Dan Bishop and others in Congress who are going to stand up and not and support that kind of talk is very discouraging. My campaign is going to be different. We're going to be running a campaign that's going to have a voice for our American people, and especially the people in 9th Congressional District, if that's where we stand.
I mean, how do you deal with the problem of the Democratic Party's popularity in rural areas of North Carolina? I'm sure you meet a lot of people who are like, look, yes, we need better internet. Based on your connection here today, it's clear the district needs, would benefit from robust investment in broadband. But once people realize you're a Democrat, a lot of people are just going to turn off. How do you get them to turn back on to your message?
Well, I'm a Democrat serving in a rural county, and my message throughout my term in the General Assembly has been working for standing up for education, standing up for our children, standing up for early childhood education. The things that I believe, I certainly have a strong belief that when people realize who Charles Graham is and what he has stood for throughout his representation in the General Assembly, and I get an opportunity to go out into those communities, whether it's an urban area or a rural area such as Robeson County or throughout this district, and people have a chance to listen to my message and look at the way I've worked in the General Assembly in a bipartisan way. I think that's something that our communities will like. I have no doubt that we have to work hard on our message, and we intend to do that. Democrat versus the Republican agenda, there's clearly a choice in this race. Charles Graham versus division, versus a message that's not going to unite our country or the district.
Charles Graham, thank you so much for taking the time.
And thank you. Good to be with you.
Thank you. We'll be back with more Rising shortly. Stick with us.